This is your first time here, I invite you to really allow the welcome to seep in. Allow everyone that will be welcoming you to give you the gift of their love in this moment. And for all of us to be that for one another. How wondrous that is. Let's go forward with our Science of Mind reading. We'll do announcements in a few minutes. Others may still be coming, and I don't want to miss them with our announcements. So, Reverend Catherine, if you'd come up and tell us a little bit about your weekend preceding today, and then do the reading. It's been busy this weekend.
Yes, it's been busy this weekend. Some of you know that I'm the Dean of the School of Spiritual Leadership, and what I do is train ministerial students, which is just a joy, let me tell you. It's so much fun. And what we do is we have our classes online. We use Zoom, and so we're all on the computer at our homes, and it's really neat because I can see cats. I can see their dog. I can see where, their office or their living room, wherever they decide to come in from. And this week it was contemporary applications. So it's about our contemporary issues, about social justice, about politics, about just any racism, just all of those issues come up. And how do we apply it? How do we apply the science of mind, the philosophy in which we live and move and have our beingness in oneness? And how is it that we respond to that? How are we feeling about that? How would we go out, like one of the examples I used, and Mara helped me, she was in class yesterday and Friday night, about when Pulse, the anniversary of Pulse, and we put the flags down and we participate in the city and what they're doing. So it was just wonderful, and we just have a great time. A lot of humor, a lot of laughing, and a safe place.
Tell where the students are from that were on the call.
Oh, we are international. We have a student from Australia. We had 2 from Canada, and then all up and down the East Coast. We also have a student, not on this weekend, but from London. And so we just love that we have all these different cultures. So we talked about cultural differences too, and if they have different things. So I better stop talking because I don't want to get too long. But any of you that are thinking about that you really want to go farther in this teaching, then talk to me about ministerial school. There, that was my plug. Yeah, that's right. Rosedale just graduated. She went to the San Diego campus. So. Yes. Yes, it is. Okay, so now this morning's reading is about the great activity of spirit. And boy, I can't emphasize that more, that we live in a world of the activity of spirit. So here we go. There is only one temple in the world, and that is the human body. Interesting, huh? That's our human body. When the level of the individual's thinking is divorced from that, I've got to get it a little closer, from that of the world and raised to that of the spirit, his standard changes from that of imperfection to perfection. And this is the true norm. Regardless of his present experience, man has access to perfection for the minutest detail of his life. Spirit could not possibly have any idea which is less than perfection. Anything less than this implies an imperfect spirit, or something opposed to God, which cannot be. Spirit knows only the perfect and knows nothing of the imperfect. Every step of the great activity of spirit has been characterized by perfection. The tiniest organism adheres to a perfect pattern, functioning perfectly in its particular sphere. All its atoms are things of perfection, acting and reacting according to perfect law. This same perfection is true regarding man. But with this exception, man can think, and he has gradually built mental concepts of imperfection, has gazed upon them, then has fallen down and worshipped them. Instead of knowing a God of perfection, man in his imagination has created many gods of imperfection, and they are all creatures of his own imagination. They have no basis in reality. You know, we're all spiritual beings living a human experience. So that's what really they're talking about. There's no such thing as miracle in healing, but that healing comes only where health is regarded as the true normal state. And I kind of want to say we're good health, energetic, vibrant health is the natural state. And this is from the practical application of science of mind. So the affirmation is, there is a pattern of perfection at the center of my being, which is now operating through every organ, function, action, and reaction. So thank you.
Now, good morning.
Morning.
Isn't it a
Good
beautiful morning?
There we go.
Isn't it beautiful out there? The weather's perfect. It's beautifully sunny, but it's not too hot. It's just absolutely perfect. So I don't know about you, but when it's like that, I feel like dancing. Do you feel like dancing? Well, then let's
right,
stand up
then
and dance.
let's
Come
do
on,
that.
let's get started. Everybody knows this song.
Should know by now. For sure.
Put it all the way up. Come on, let's dance. Come on, let's have some fun. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is peace. There is love. There is joy. It is for freedom you set us free. Reverend Rosehill's got it. Come on, she's got it. Come on, let's follow. It is for freedom you set us free. 4 times, I'm free. Here we go. Come on, 1. I'm free. I'm free. I'm free. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Come on, you guys, I see you in the back. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is peace. Come on, sing with us. There is peace. There is love. There is love. What's in your heart? There is joy. There is joy. It is for freedom you set us free. Come on now. It is for freedom to set us free.
Here we go.
1, 2, 3. I'm free. Free. I'm free. I'm free. Now we'll walk in your freedom. Here we go. We will walk in your freedom, walk in your liberty. We will walk in your freedom, walk in your liberty. Now we'll dance. Come on. We will dance in your freedom, dance in your liberty.
That's the way.
I wish we had a video on this. We will dance in your freedom, dance in your liberty. Now we're gonna scream. Here we go. Ready? Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. All right, come on.
Let's do that again.
Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Don't worry, you got 2 more times.
Let me hear you.
Where the Spirit of the Lord is, yeah, you sound good. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Yeah. It is for freedom. It is for freedom. You set us free. It is for freedom. You set us free. 1, 2, 3. Free. 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 All right, here's the time in the celebration where we greet each other with a handshake or a hug. Turn to your neighbor, say, I'm free. We will walk in your freedom, walk in your liberty. We will walk in your freedom, walk in your liberty. We will dance in your freedom, dance in your liberty. We will dance in your freedom, dance in your liberty. I'm free, yeah. Oh, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, yeah. I'm free.
Where's Mara? Oh.
So good morning. Hello. Well, welcome back to this wonderful place. And I'm the practitioner for today. My name is Mara. Then if at the end of the service you would like to have a mini treatment, I'm available for all of those who would like to have a mini treatment for today, okay? So let's start today with the affirmation that you can find in the program. It's right there. Okay, let's say the affirmation, and then after we finish with the affirmation, then we continue with from what we believe, okay? I plant my garden mind with only the best ideas, and so I am perpetually seeing the greatest life, and so it is. We believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through our universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thoughts and acts upon it. And so it is. So now you can find your center right there in your chair, and then we know the truth at this moment. We know the truth of who we are, and we know the truth who is our partner that walks with us. And right here, right now, I know that we are in the sacred place at the sacred moment doing the sacred thing. And right here, right now, I open my mind, my spirit, my soul, to allow Spirit to plant the seed of love, happiness, beauty, harmony, and creativity in my mind, my soul, my spirit. And I know that today is a beautiful day, and this week is a beautiful week, and this year is a beautiful year, and life is beautiful always. So we are open to the top to receive, to allow divine spirit, divine source, divine power to flow through me, through us, to manifest in this reality that we call life. And we are open to receive the information, the ideas, the decisions that we have to make. We are open to receive that today. And with this, and with gratitude in my heart, I release these words to the universal mind, knowing that they're so. And so it is. Namaste.
Thank you, Mara. I love our topic today, perpetual harvest. When I drive to Ocala from where I live, I pass this area that used to be a tree farm. They used to grow pine trees, and over the years they'd harvest those pine trees and then replant new pine trees along the way. But now it's a sod farm, and they grow grass there. And once in a while there'll be cows out in there, but they're really growing sod to cut, to sell for people's lawns or for fields or for farms. And there's a perpetual crop that's coming along when it's a sod farm. When it was a tree farm, it took 20 years perhaps before there was a harvest. Our teaching, the science of mind, is all about planting and harvesting, isn't it? It's about planting the seeds of thoughts and creating that and inviting the harvest to come forth into our lives. And so I love the analogy of plants, because many of you know that I like to grow things. And I like to grow things from cuttings or from seeds and see them grow up. I'd like to tell you a story about a woman that would give away irises. My flower beds would be bare were it not for the beautiful irises given to me by some very important women in my life. Double blooming purple ones from Grandma Marge, statuesque white ones from Marinon, my mother's best friend, petite lavender blooms from Bonnie, the president of the neighborhood garden club, and bearded golden blossoms from Nana, my husband's grandmother. Every few years in the fall, I thin the irises out and pass on the rhizomes. These are the underground stems that send out roots and shoots when planted. This year, I'll give some starters to a neighbor up the street who admired my flowers last spring. I'll give a few more to a young couple I know from church who just bought a house. The iris will bloom in time to commemorate their first year in their new home. And I'll set aside a few for my best friend Callie, who loves irises as much as I do. The women who helped me start my garden have all passed away, but every spring their generosity brings beauty to my world. We have people planting things in our lives, don't we? And we have things planted in our lives that we really love. Ideas that were set forth for us that we're building on as our life unfolds. However, we also are surrounded by weed thoughts. Have you noticed that lately especially? We have weed thoughts that are a possibility to come up in our life. And who's in charge of what our harvest is? We are, right? We're the ones that make a decision whether a seed that was planted that we don't want to come to fruition comes or not. It does take some discipline, but it's very much like weeding our garden, isn't it? We can let the weeds grow, and then what do we have? We have our plants that we really love out by the weeds, and the same is true with our thoughts. That those thoughts that we'd love to have, we need to cultivate them. We need to nurture them. Ernest Holmes talks a lot about seeds, and he talks about how the tree was in the acorn before the acorn was planted. And I'd like for us to just take a moment and think about that analogy. The tree was in the plant before the plant was in the ground. It was in the seed. So what is in an acorn? And I was going around my yard this week looking for acorns so we could hold up acorns. I wanted to give everyone in the center an acorn. Some years we get a lot of acorns in our yard, but none have fallen yet this year. But you all can imagine what an acorn looks like, right? And you can imagine that you have an acorn in your hand, and as you look at the acorn, to see the divine potential within it. It has leaves, it has roots, it has branches, it's reaching to the sky. The potential of that acorn is to not just grow a tree that's 40 or 50 feet tall. If it's a live oak acorn, it might live for 300 or 400 years. That's in that acorn. And not only that, but all the trees that follow it as it bears fruit. So in your hand, you have the potential of a forest of oak trees. Now, Meister Eckhart said years ago, and Ernest Holmes quoted him in a couple different things, that just as the acorn grows an oak tree and a pear seed will grow a pear tree, we have a God seed within us that will grow a God being if we cultivate it, if we allow it to grow and nurture it. What we are is God in potential, and that God in potential will manifest a godlike being, a divine spiritual being, if we give it the same cultivation that we might give a seed. I've got some salvia seeds at home, so I'm going to plant this week. Until I plant them, they're not going to become salvia plants, are they? They'll just sit in the little envelope that I collected a year ago. But until I plant them, those are not going to ever grow into a salvia plant. The conditions need to be right. But the soil that I plant it in won't care whether it's growing a salvia or a cabbage or an oak tree. Perhaps if I grow it in a small pot, it might care that it's not going to grow an oak tree until I put it in the ground to be its full potential. But the idea is we need to plant the seeds in order to get the plants, in order to get that perennial harvest. Now, I invite us to know we're already getting a perennial harvest. We're already getting a perpetual harvest in our life. All the seed ideas that we've accepted into our subconscious mind have that potential to bring into our life that which has been planted there, whether we planted it ourselves or it was planted by our parents or our teachers or the newspaper or the media. Whatever it is that we're allowing in and allowing to settle into that creative medium, which is our subconscious mind, that has the potential to bring forth the harvest. And if we don't want a harvest of pine trees, we cut down the pine trees and we plant sod. If we don't want negativity or lack or limitation or ill health in our lives, we uproot those and we plant the seeds that we want to manifest. We plant the seeds of wholeness, of peace, of joy. So I invite you, as you think about the acorn in your hand, and that the potential for everything that's needed for the plant that's there in the seed, the only thing that the soil and the air and the sun and the rain provide is nourishment. The idea of the oak tree is totally included within the acorn, isn't it? And for us to get really clear on that, it doesn't have to go somewhere to get the branches that will be the branches of the tree. The material that surrounds it all the time is the material that's needed for it to become the oak tree. The material that's needed for us to actually actualize the divine spiritual being that we are is already right here within us. We don't have to go anywhere to get that divine spiritual being. We don't have to capture God. We don't have to capture the qualities of God. We may have to awaken to them because we have other weed seeds that have blown into our mentality. We need to root those out and put our full attention on this wondrous thing, which is the truth of who we are, the truth of being, that wholeness, that completeness, that peace, that power that we are. I noticed from Cindy's class, Reverend Cindy and Reverend Rosedale's class this week, on the board, and I don't know if that's from yesterday or a day of class, that's from yesterday, I walked into Piper Hall and it asked the question, what do you really desire? What do you really desire? Now, that desire that you really desire is in potential a seed planted in your subconscious. And your subconscious is like that plant, is like the soil that your plant has been planted in, and it will grow what you've planted there. So as we get really clear, until we get really clear as to what it is we desire, all these weed seeds that have come into our experience of life have the potential to mature and that to be our perpetual harvest. Until we make the decision, what do you decide to be growing in the spiritual experiences and the physical experiences of your life? Can we really believe that what we desire is what we can manifest? I think you're in this room because you already believe that. You already know that that is true, that which you desire is like what's already in the acorn. Is that God's seed within you, that came to this plane to be born into this life for you to experience life, to bring the gifts that you have to give to the planet and receive the wondrous gifts that surround us and fill us and allow us to have a most awesome experience of life. That's the perpetual harvest that is ours by divine right, and it's up to us to nurture it, to allow it to grow, and to know the power of our thinking, to know the power of prayer, to know that creative medium is there waiting for us and ready for us to manifest the highest good for us. That definition of perpetual is never ending or changing. That's one definition. Occurring repeatedly, so frequent as to seem endless and uninterrupted, or as of a plant blooming or fruiting several times in one season. I think it's the beginning of Genesis and the beginning of the book of John in the Bible that talks about in the beginning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and nothing was made that was not made by the Word. This is what we're talking about this morning. This is that seed that we're putting into thought, the seed that we plant in our subconscious mind. Ernest Holmes invites us to know that in the beginning doesn't mean way back in eons of time ago. That's the beginning of every creative sequence that he calls. So I would invite us this morning to be like the farmer there on 315 south of Fort McCoy, Florida, that I drive past when I go to Ocala from where I live, that bought the land and made the decision to not grow pine trees in that property anymore, but to make it a sod farm. That was what he knew how to grow. He wanted some land. He put the watering in that's necessary and cultivated it, but he made the decision to no longer grow pine trees because the soil didn't care, right? But to grow sod, and that would be where he'd have a money crop and he'd make money and have a lucrative business doing that. And God would cooperate with that, right? With the sun and the rain. Florida, good place to grow things, right? Okay, so I invite you to just bring to mind something in your own mind that maybe you've been having a perpetual harvest of that you really don't want to harvest anymore. You don't have to tell anybody what it is. But be like the man that bought that property. And he may have bought it after the trees had already been harvested. He probably did. The person that owned it before wanted to get his money out of the pine trees that he was growing, so he chopped down the trees. But now this new owner of this property is making a decision, some years ago now, that he wanted to grow sod instead of pine trees. And how easy was that? He made the decision. He did what was necessary for it to come to fruition. The perpetual harvest wasn't going to be pine trees anymore. It was going to be sod. Now, what is it that you'd like to have a perpetual harvest of that might have seemed elusive? Perhaps you've lived someplace and you want to sell that house, and so the seed you're planting now is that the house is sold to the perfect buyer for the perfect price. That's making the decision and planting the seed for a harvest that is going to be blessing your life so that you can move to where you want to live if that's not where you want to live now. If perhaps there's been something of a health challenge in your life that you've been harvesting, and you would like now to harvest wonderful health. First of all, for us to take a look at that and say, yes, up to now I've been harvesting less than the health that I desire. But I'm not going to harvest that anymore. I'm making a new decision. Today's a new day. I'm going to make a new decision, and I'm going to harvest good health in my life. And I know that because my subconscious mind has this wonderful connection with the infinite creativity, that as I simply change my belief about this, and to know that I have God on my side, however we choose to look at this in our lives, whatever it takes for us to have the clarity of thought that that farmer has about the crop that he wants to raise, that we have that same clarity of thought about what it is we desire for our perpetual harvest beginning now. And then we do whatever's necessary to make that happen, right? If it's nutrition, if it's exercise, whatever that might be, we do those things. If it's something that we need to do in the area of abundance consciousness, that we quit putting our attention on lack and limitation, those are weed thoughts. We're going to put our attention on abundance, and we're going to read things about abundance, and we're going to know that we live in an abundant universe, and we're going to open to new ways of abundance showing up in our life, and we're going to recognize it when it starts to show up. Because sometimes when we make those changes between the harvest that we had before and the harvest that we want now, there are little things that are steps along the way that are necessary for us to do physically in our life in order for us to stay on track and to go forward with that in our experience of life. And it works with every area of harvest you might want. Just like you can plant tomatoes or carrots or lettuce or cabbage in a planter box and grow that up, so you can plant love and harmony and peace and joy and wholeness and abundant good and divine activity and a wonderful career. Whatever it might be is up to us. Now, the responsibility on us is to really be clear in our thinking and to know that's what we want and to set aside the old way of being. We have to be willing to change Now, this is where the soil comes in and our subconscious comes in, because the subconscious does not know, it just does. Our conscious mind does the thinking part. And so this is where we need to stay on track with our thinking through the process of creating that new harvest. For us to be gentle with ourselves and say, oops, I got off, but I'm coming back on. Whatever that might be, that we have an opportunity to go back where our habits were, but then for us to get in charge of our thinking and say, oh, I'm not going to do that this time. I'm thinking about the crop that I want to harvest. And then to have fun with it. Let the joy of life exude through you in whatever way it is. Perhaps in a business sense, you're going after a new client. And that client has not been a customer of yours before, but that client is out there and available. And as you get clear, you will be divinely guided perhaps to say the right things or to do the right things for a particular sales opportunity. Or like it was when I was in sales and I'd go after a particular client. The success didn't come from that client, but it came in the back door from someone else. So we put our attention on that which we desire. We don't outline and say it's going to be this, but we're open to the results that we desire in our lives. Now, I invite us to plant some seeds here at Orlando Center for Spiritual Living. We've been cultivating something new at Orlando Center for Spiritual Living, and that is our youth and family ministry program. We brought in a youth and family minister in Reverend Rosedale Jones, who will be in charge of that. Today at our board meeting, there's an opportunity for our board to approve the buying of furniture for both the teenage room and the younger kids room and a preschool room. And for us to, as a congregation, see those seeds being planted, such that we have this amazing youth and family ministry program. There's absolutely nothing blocking that, is there? If there was, those are weeds, we're pulling them out. Yeah, the fact that we don't have any kids up in that room right now, or maybe we do. I don't know where they're here. Okay. But the program is still unfolding. And for us, each one of us, to hold that, we've got teachers lining up, we have parents and kids lining up. This is coming to fruition. And we're going to have this perpetual harvest of a youth and family ministry program at Orlando Center for Spiritual Living. Let's applaud that, right? And now I invite us, and that's a given, and everyone can pray in whatever way. Picture the kids coming. Picture them coming up at the end of the service on Sunday and telling what they did on a Sunday. Invite us to bless the children, to do a children's blessing every Sunday of the children. Imagine that happening in a part of our service. And all of that is a part of what we're talking about, a perpetual harvest. We will never again be a center without a youth and family ministry program. We had a window where that was not the case, but that's coming to an end. We're planting a new crop, and we've got all and everything we need to make that happen. Yes, okay. Now I invite you to go one step farther, out into the world, out into this country especially. We see a lot of inequity right now in our world and in this country. But I invite us to know that we have, especially in the U.S., been planting seeds for something else to happen. You know, we talk about planting seeds in our subconscious mind. And we in the Science of Mind philosophy know that we can make a conscious effort and do that and get results in our lives. Now, I'm inviting us to think about one other thing. And this really hit me last week as I'm working with some issues in Ocala in a volunteer role that I play, and that is that liberty and justice for all are the very last words of the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Now, whether or not people have been in this teaching, whether or not they thought about that consciously, if school children have said the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, every day they went to school, that's 180 days a year, and 12 years of school, even if they never did a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag anywhere else, they have allowed those seeds to be planted of liberty and justice for all to be said into their subconscious 1,260 times. 180 days a year, 12 years of school. 1,260 times, everyone that went to public school in this country have said those words. Now, I love to think that those are seeds that have been planted. And even though people may have not consciously said those words, even though they might have been said by rote, they said them, right? They heard themselves saying them. Some years ago, when someone was saying to me, when I had this big problem in my life, and I said, I keep praying for it, but it's not manifesting yet. And the person, I think it was a practitioner, said to me, you know, when we do our affirmation work, it's kind of like whacking away at a tree. And we do the next axe hit on the tree, and that's our affirmation. The tree's invisible. We can't see how close we are to making that tree fall, but we're getting closer. What if, in this country and in the world, those ideas of liberty and justice for all are being taken at a level that will transform people's thoughts, that will invite actions to take place in our country and in our world, and the tipping point is very close. We just can't see it yet. Maybe the things that have been happening recently are the very things that will help it tip, bring it to light, and so forth. These seeds were really planted, and they continue to be planted. Go to a county commission meeting, go to a city council meeting. They always say what? The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. They're always saying liberty and justice for all. Now, I believe that some of the things that this country are based on are visionary in their impact. I know that the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson's words, were written by a man who owned slaves. But the words are visionary in their impact. The words that this country were founded on have the potential to manifest. Let's all buy that this morning. Let's all say that's possible this morning. Let's open to the possibility of liberty and justice for all. Justice has become a really big word lately, a really big word. And for us to know that justice means equality, it means fairness, it also means a world that works for everyone, doesn't it? Which is one of our global visions of Centers for Spiritual Living. For us to be a part of that, for us to hold in our heart that possibility of our lives being what we desire and our world being that which individuals desire for themselves. Let's turn to your affirmation that you said a few minutes ago with Mara. We're going to do it twice, so if you don't find it right away, we'll find it the second time. I plant my garden mind with only the best ideas, and so I am perpetually harvesting the greatest life, and so it is. Let's do it one more time and mean it. I plant my garden mind with only the best ideas, and so I am perpetually harvesting the greatest life, and so it is. I invite us to turn within for a moment and to feel the power of what we're saying. That we can throw away what we were doing in our garden of our life and plant new seeds. That we can take the seeds that we really love and nourish them so that they grow forth to bring about the best harvest, the best outcome. That we can get so good at this that it's a perpetual harvest of good in every area of our individual lives, in the lives of those we love, in the life of this center, in the life of this city, this state, this country, this world. That we have made a decision this morning to plant those best seeds and forever reap a perpetual harvest of the highest and the best. I give thanks it's already underway, and so it is.
I did go to sleep, you're right. How did you know that from sitting there?
May the words I say or scream and the things I do make life's song sing, bring a smile to you. Let my life song sing to you. Let my life song sing to you. Wanna shine your name at the end of this day, knowing that my heart was true. Let my life song sing to you. God, I give you my life, such small sacrifice to reach your world in need, to be your hands and your feet. So may the words I say and the things I do, let my life song sing, bring a smile to you. Yeah. Let my life song sing to you. Let my life song sing to you. Whoa, I wanna sign your name at the end of this day, knowing that my heart was true. Let my life song sing to you. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Let my life song sing to you. Affirmation over those T's. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, let my life song sing to you. Let my life song sing to you. Let my life song sing to you. I wanna sign your name at the end of this day, knowing that my heart was true. Let my life song sing to you. Life song sing to you. Let my life song sing. Let my life song sing sign my name at the end of this day, knowing that my heart was true, and let my life song sing to you. Yeah!
Now it's time to celebrate our abundance. Thank you, Don.
Having a lot of it myself.
Okay, let's take our gift in our hand and hold in mind, those of us who give online in whatever way that we give, that we're putting it symbolically into the basket this morning. Let's do our affirmation together as we do that. How good it is to know that I am the place where the abundance of the universe flows, and as the abundance flows through me, it is with a grateful heart that I give. I know that as I give, so much more is given back to me. Gratefully and joyfully, I give of my time, my talents, my gifts, and my heart. And so it is.
And then for the request.
Come up and say a few things. Yeah, while the offering's being taken, let's give Reverend Rosedale a chance to talk to us about youth and family ministry.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm not going to shut up yet because I know they are coming. They are here right now. You know, that talk was so powerful. Thank you, Reverend Peggy. Give her one more hand. All I can do right now is remember my whole day yesterday, the seeds that were planted. And then after the class, let me tell you something. When I woke up this morning, I said, I am so healed from yesterday's workshop. You know, from ministerial school to the beginning classes of this whole teaching, I tell you guys, classes are everything. Please remember that. If you don't remember nothing else, classes are everything. But anyway, the thing what I love so much about the talk, and I'm not going to hold you long, is the seeds. After class yesterday, I'm always out, and I'm always talking to people, I'm always meeting people. I forgot my cards. So I met two ladies, and then this one lady I met, I says to her, you know, so I'm promoting this youth group. She said, well, I know this is great. She's 25, and she's kind of talking to me. So then she planted a seed. She said, do you have a card? That's one seed. And I said to myself, well, from now on, carry your cards everywhere. That's seed. The next one was, do you have a flyer? Because I can take it to my community. Seed number 2. So I will bring that to my board, to myself in my mind. So anyway, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, just like growing taking that acorn and growing that oak tree. Trust me, there are things happening right now as we're building with Lorraine and Pam and Chris and whoever else steps up with these young people. They're already prepared for when the kids come. They have lessons ready for them. So we got this. We're just building it, and they're coming. So we already see them, and you guys, look at that. Look at that with me. See that tree building. See a whole bunch of trees, okay? And I'll be looking forward to that.
Okay, we're going to pray. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I know it's not you.
It's really too bad, Rhodey. Reverend Rhodey doesn't have one, too.
Okay, let's turn within, shall we? Giving thanks for our offering today. Giving thanks for that wondrous circulation of divine good. We know that Orlando Center for Spiritual Living exists because of the divine idea that it is and because of the givingness of each one. And I give thanks for our understanding of the law of circulation, that as we give, it's multiplied tenfold and more and comes back into our lives to bless our lives. I give thanks also for our prayer requests today, knowing the answer to each and every request already exists in divine mind, and that our prayer ministry team, our ministers and practitioners are praying about each of those this week, knowing that the outcome is assured. How wondrous it is to give thanks for the great good. And so it is. And now in preparation for Reverend Cindy giving us our spiritual mind treatment, Nick and Mark will give us a song.
Thank you. As always in this part of the celebration, we do invite you to close your eyes, to drop into that space, to let this be the beginning of your meditation for yourself. There's never need for applause after this, but please just enjoy and relax and drop in with us.
You are sacred love, sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love, sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. Blessed peace is all that you are. You are blessed peace, blessed peace is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are deepest joy is all that you are. You are deepest joy is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are sacred love, sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love, sacred love is all that you are.
And so I take this moment to clear away any weeds of thought that might get in the way of the full-grown garden of my idea of God. I let myself be conscious of that amazing and wonderful idea I hold. That God is creator, creative, created. God is that seed, the soil, the plant of all things. contains within itself all things, all time, created from itself all that we know and that beyond what we know. This is the one in which resides love itself, wisdom itself, power, joy, all that is good. And all has been created in such amazing abundance. There is no limit. And as I lift my thoughts there and let myself dwell in this lifted, amazing idea, I know too that one of the seeds it planted is me. And another seed it planted is each one here. We are all God's seed. Standing strong, powerful, and firm in the soil of good that is God. And so I know that as these divine plants that we are, we draw to ourselves everything that is needed for our fullness and growth, for our experience of our own wholeness. That which is required, the air of our lives, the rain of our lives, the soil of our lives, the nutrients of our lives is drawn to us because it is in our very makeup to draw it. And it is in the very makeup of the universe for it to be there at hand in every moment as needed, without lack. And because we are that, I know that we have drawn, each and every one here, the perfect experience of health. These divine, wonderful temples that we read about earlier are powered and fueled in perfect ways, hold within themselves the divine pattern of the Creator, hold within themselves the divine idea of wholeness and health and the path to it if we have gone astray. And so I let go the weeds of confusion about that and let stand only the truth of being, that we are all whole, healthy, complete, drawing to ourselves exactly what is needed in every moment to be vibrant and vitally alive, to have bodies that serve our every need and desire. I know that each one here also draws because it is there to be drawn, the perfect supply, abundant in every form, creative ideas, money, pathways, networks, whatever we need. It is here. It is now. It is already upon us, and we simply open our eyes and see it. And in the relationships, we are related to everyone in this world in some way. Close, near, far, all in relation. And we draw to ourselves the experience of those personal relationships that support us, that draw our frequencies higher, that support us in being the highest and best and most wonderful ones that we can be. That is drawn with ease. It comes to us, and we provide to others that same support, that same upliftment, that same ability to express at the highest levels. And what we bring in these close personal relationships, we take out into the world of acquaintances and friends and people we meet and see, and we speak those words that we don't even know are making the upliftment in another person's day, but it happens. And it comes to us with that same ease. And I know that whatever decisions we have are made with ease. For there is that one, that wise one, that put us here, that made us in its image, that already knows the answer to everything, already knows the path and the outcome of every desire. And so we are guided because it is so much a part of who we are to be guided. The path is made clear. It is lit. It is straight. It is obvious. All answers come with ease. They are heard and understood with ease. And this is a beautiful world. And we are part of that beauty, and we can experience that beauty in all of its forms. This is the truth. And so I am grateful to have known it in this moment for this group, because knowing the truth draws the truth into form. And I accept the manifestation of this knowing in each life here in all the beautiful ways it transpires. And I let go my time of knowing to God who is delivering it as I speak, setting it at hand, and bringing it about in its own beautiful and miraculous ways. I let go. I let God. And so it is.
Let's form our circle, and as we do, I invite you to remember that first Friday in November, we're having a dedication of our building, that Friday evening at 7, and installing all 4 of our ministers. So do put that on your calendar. It's in the program. Take that home as an invitation.
Put it on my calendar.
Good.
Beginning of service.
Yes.